Hi my dear children, today we are going to start a new chapter, chapter 3, Plant Reproduction. Chapter 3, Plant Reproduction. What we have studied in the previous chapter, we studied about the adaptation of different types of plants. How plants adapt to live in local conditions and to survive in earth. To survive in earth, certain plants develop certain adaptations. And plants produce young plants or young ones to continue their generation or to live on earth. They produce their young ones. They give birth to young ones. Certain organisms give birth to young ones, and similarly plants also produce young plants to survive in earth. That is called reproduction. Production of new plants from the parent plant is called plant reproduction. Production of new plants from the parent ones is called plant reproduction. Plants reproduce in many ways. Plants reproduce in different ways. You have studied in previous chapter that lower plants like algae, ferns, mosses, fungi, how do they reproduce? Algae, then ferns, mosses, fungi. How do these organisms or these plants reproduce? How do these plants, lower plants, they are lower plants. Lower plants. These are examples of lower plants, algae, ferns, mosses, fungi. And how do they reproduce? They reproduce by means of spores that we have studied. Lower plants reproduce by means of spores. What are spores? That also we studied. Spores are one-celled reproductive structures. Spores are one-celled. They are made up of one cell. One-celled reproductive structures are spores. Spores are one-celled reproductive structures, and these algae, ferns, mosses, fungi reproduce by means of these spores. If you want to see spore, you take a mushroom, the umbrella structure of mushroom, that part, and press it on a black paper. You will get the spores. You can see spores of mushrooms. Okay. Then you can see spores of ferns on the back side of fern leaf. On the back side and underside of the fern leaf also you can see spores. Next, how we studied the reproduction in lower plants. Then how big plants reproduce? In some cases or in certain cases, the plants break out, bits break out from certain plants, or parts of plants break out. Parts of plants break out and new plants will form from the bits. Plants break out, or bits of part separate from the parent plant, and this bit can grow into a new plant. For example, you know how we grow rose plants. How we grow rose plants? We take a stem cutting, or we cut the stem of a rose plant and we plant it somewhere else, and that part or that stem cutting will grow into a new rose plant. So, in rose, we take stem cuttings for the production of new plants. So, rose plants reproduce by means of stem cuttings. We cut a stem and we plant it somewhere else, and that stem will grow into a new plant. So, in the case of rose plant, it reproduces by means of stem. Then tapioca. Tapioca. Everyone knows tapioca. How do farmers or how do we cultivate tapioca on a large scale? We take a stem of tapioca and we cut it into small pieces or cut into bits, and we plant each bit. We plant each cutting, and that cutting will grow into a big tapioca plant. In tapioca plant also we reproduce by stem cuttings. We reproduce this tapioca plant with the help of stem cuttings. We cut the stem into small pieces, and each bit will grow into a new tapioca plant. Then what about onion? What is the edible part of that onion that we eat? What is the name of that edible part? In the case of onion, this is the part which we use, isn't it? And this part is called bulb. In onion, in the case of onion, the part which we use is called bulb. And this bulb is the reproductive part of onion. New onions grow from this bulb. New onions grow from this bulb. So, bulb is the reproductive part of this onion plant. New plant grows from this bulb. This is the edible part of onion and it is called bulb. Then what about, everyone knows potato. Potato. How a potato plant reproduces, or what is the name of the edible part that we use? This is considered this as potato, and the edible part of potato is called underground stem. Underground stem. And if we cut this potato into small pieces, or if we cut a part of this potato and grow or plant it somewhere else, this part or bit, this bit will grow into new potato plant. When we cut a piece of potato and when we grow it somewhere else, this part will grow into a new potato plant, and this is not a root or leaf or fruit. This part is the underground stem. So, in the case of potato, it reproduces by which part? Underground stem. Potato reproduces by underground stem. Then another plant called bryophyllum. Bryophyllum. This plant reproduces by means of leaves. This bryophyllum reproduces by means of leaves. Young plants, new plants grow from the parent leaf. From a fleshy, this is a fleshy leaf, and new plants grow from this parent plant. Young ones grow from the parent plant or leaf. Parent leaf. So, bryophyllum reproduces by its leaf. New plants grow from the parent leaf. Thus we studied about the different types of reproduction in certain plants. Some plants reproduce by means of stem, some plants reproduce by means of underground stem, and some plants reproduce by means of leaf. And almost all other plants reproduce by means of seeds. You know that in previous class you studied certain plants produce seeds, and these seeds spread with the help of animals, birds, insects, etc., by wind, water, etc. And prior to the production of seeds, a plant produces flowers. You know, before the production of seeds, a plant produces flowers. That you have noticed. For example, mango. Before the formation of mango fruit, the mango tree will produce what? Flowers. And this, after the formation of flowers, fruits will develop. Fruits will form from the flowers. So, when a plant reaches at a certain age, or when a plant becomes adult stage, it produces flowers. It produces flowers when it reaches a certain age. And when the flower blossoms, or after blossoms, what will produce? It will become ready to produce a fruit. When the flower blossoms or opens, when the flower opens, it will become ready to produce the fruit. The fruit grows and matures, and seeds will form inside the fruits. Inside the fruits, seeds are formed. And when the fruit detaches from the parent plant or the tree, the seeds will disperse and the seed will grow into a new plant. So, to study the reproduction, we have to study the structure of a flower. Before the production of fruit and seed, a plant produces what? A plant produces flower. And when flower blossoms or opens, it becomes ready to produce a fruit. This is the structure of a flower, and this is called the pedicel or the stalk of the flower. This is the pedicel or stalk of the flower, and this is sepal. This is called a green colored structure that we can see below a flower is called sepal, and their colored part is called petal. The colored part of flower is called petal. The green colored structure below a flower is called sepal, and above the green colored structure we can see colored red, yellow, blue, pink colored structure that is called petal, and above that we can see, or when we cut a flower into equal halves, two equal halves, we can see an ovary inside the flower. This oval shaped structure inside the flower is called ovary. And when the fruit matures, this or fruit forms, this ovary changes into fruit. And inside the ovary we can see small minute structures. This is called ovules. Inside the ovary we can see small rounded minute structures called ovules, and above that we can see a lengthy filament-like structure. This is called style, and the style is continuous up to the ovary, and above the style you can see stigma, and on the style you can see stamen, yellowish colored structure called stamen. This is a part of the flower. Once again I will tell you. A flower has a stalk, and above the stalk a green colored structure called sepal, and above the sepal you can see colored structure called petal, and inside the flower, when we cut the flower into two equal halves, you can see a rounded structure called ovary, and inside the ovary you can see small rounded structures called ovules, and from the ovary there is a tube called style. At the end of the style you can see stigma, and on the style you can see yellowish like structures called stamen. Okay, thank you children. We will continue in the next class.